Hey everybody, and welcome back to Freakin Uncultured. As if you're new here, welcome to the show. If you haven't listened to us before or anything like that, my name is Andy, and I'm joined by my good buddy Chandler. Chandler, how's it going today, man? How you feeling?
Man, I'm doing good. I could go for a nap, but aside from that, I'm doing pretty good. So,
I could feel that. I feel. I
yeah,
think that's an age thing, but I totally feel that.
yeah.
Well, again, if you're new here, thank you for joining. You're just joining two guys who have been doing stuff with video games, movies, all this stuff for very, very, very long time, and we've gotten into the habit of we like to just talk and BS, and we decided we'll bring it here. So, welcome to the show. We usually kind of start off with a little bit of small talk. So let's see what you got this week, Chandler. Anything exciting going on for you this week?
So, as as you know, I have been just plowing away at Doom Eternal, trying to get that platinum trophy
Mm-hmm.
before Dark Ages comes out. And as of yesterday, the trophy I was dreading the most, which was getting 200 player eliminations in the online mode, I did it. And
Hey.
I am so glad to be done with it. And it was a stroke of luck what happened too, because I loaded into a match with two players. Because basically how it works is if you play as the Slayer, then you play against two demons.
Mm-hmm.
Each one's a different player, and then if you play as the demons, it's just vice versa. So as a slayer, it's easier to farm for kills between two demons. You just got to wait for one to respawn after you killed him. So I was lucky enough to load into a lobby. I still needed like 45 kills. I loaded into a lobby where one of the players was garbage and the other one was AFK. And and so
What?
I and so I just shamelessly kept killing the AFK player every time he respawned, and I just avoided the other one till I saw that trophy pop. And the moment I saw that trophy pop, I hopped out of the match and I was done. I didn't even finish the match, dude.
That's funny, man. You didn't tell me that. You told me you got the trophy. You didn't tell me all
Yeah.
that stuff though. That's funny.
Oh
But
yeah.
you
And
did
then
it.
yep. So now I just need to finish my extra life mode run, which I have 9 missions left I need to do on that, and those won't take too long. It's more of just a buckling down and doing it. Then I need to play through the DLCs. After the DLCs, I'm officially done with Doom Eternal, and I've been trying to figure out what I want to go on to next. And I think because I pre-downloaded Avowed and it drops on Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
so I think I'm going to give Avowed a shot next and
Okay.
see if it's worth anything, because these early reviews have been coming out and it's been getting like sevens, 7 out of 10s. It seems pretty standard across the board, but a lot of people have also been saying that they're loving it, but it's a standard open world RPG. There's nothing really too special to it. So
Okay. No, I downloaded Avowed as well. I got it installed and stuff like that.
mhm.
So that's one I want to check out. I was actually on Twitter the other day, or I guess X now, and I saw that it was getting a bunch of good reviews. Like I actually saw like nines and stuff on there, which I was kind of surprised about. But it was
Really
probably
all
like, but it was probably like smaller developers, smaller teams, stuff
yeah.
like that. But I did see like IGN gave it a 7, and all that. So I don't know. I'm still cautiously optimistic about that one.
Yeah, no, we'll see. It's I don't know. Like I'm not going to hold my breath and I'm not going to get my hopes up, because for all I know, it could just not appeal to me. And so obviously if it just doesn't appeal to me, I'm not going to hold it against it.
Yeah.
So,
No, I
but if it's just a
honestly,
bad game, I will. So,
I fair enough. I went on kind of a Game Pass kick for a little bit. I finally booted up my Xbox again. My buddy and I started playing Apex Legends, and usually I played that on my Xbox more than anything. So I started playing that again. And one night we called it quits, and I was digging through Game Pass, and I was like, man, I forgot like this is on there. This is on there. I just started downloading everything. I'm pretty sure I filled up that hard drive and part of my external drive as much as I
oh,
could.
I think I only have like 5% of my hard drive available still, and I don't have an external drive. I've been meaning to pick one up, but those things hardly ever go on sale, man.
Yeah, but I downloaded all sorts of games, like all sorts of stuff I have played, I loved before, stuff I've always wanted to check out, like Senua's Sacrifice. I still want to check out Hellblade
Mhm.
2. Uh, so there's a bunch of different games I want to dig into, but that's definitely on the list for sure as Avowed. So,
Yeah.
Part of my small talk, though, and it kind of leads into the topic. So I actually picked up something I didn't think I was going to. I was kind of on the fence about it, especially when it got announced. And you and I talked about this, and we were both like, really? The PS5 Pro.
Yes.
We were both very anti PS5 Pro. I wanted that 30th anniversary, but that was a whole other monster there, and there was no way in hell I was going to get one. But couldn't justify the $700 for literally, in my opinion, a 0.5 upgrade.
Yep.
It's I mean, it's an impressive piece of hardware, but is it worth $700 when the base system costs $500? Is it really a $200 worthwhile upgrade? So when it came out, you and I talked pretty regularly on it, and it was just a no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Well, I bought one.
Yep. As you sent me a picture, so yes, I believe.
But I paid like $200 for this thing. I got a hell of a deal. Like I could, it was something I couldn't pass up. So I'm excited to see what this thing can actually do. You can actually see it right behind me, hidden behind this giant stack of games right here too. But I'm excited to see what it can do. This is obviously not a huge upgrade, not a huge difference between the games, but apparently it's a noticeable difference. So I'm excited to see. But this is also giving me kind of the drive to finish Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and get the platinum for it, because I've already finished the game. I want to get the platinum now.
Yeah.
And apparently that's one of the best case games for that system. So I'm excited to see that. But now, after the PlayStation showcase, and they showed off Liza P. Overture.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
You're fixing to fall back down a rabbit hole, huh?
I already installed Liza P. again, because I am very excited for that. I also noticed I got gypped a trophy on that one, too.
Really?
Yeah. You get there's a trophy for beating like the hardest boss in the game, and I got the trophy for that ending, but I didn't get the trophy for that boss.
That's weird.
So I was just like, man, I got to do that again. So,
man, to speak real quick on the PlayStation Showcase, though, not to take too much more time, but I was decently impressed with it. I'm not even going to lie. There was a couple games that really grabbed my attention. Lost Soul aside, I've already been kind of watching, but it definitely pulled me in even more now. And then one that caught my eye I would say is the one I am the most excited for is Tides of Annihilation.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole, Arthurian legend. It's Knights of the Round Table. You play as Gwendolyn after the fall of the Round Table, and you can summon the different knights as abilities and stuff. And man, I'm just going to say this. My experience with Souls-like games is very limited, but even I've been kind of fatigued with how much we get, and so I'm glad to see that we're finally starting to get some just good action-based combat games again, something similar to Devil May Cry or the older God of Wars.
Yep.
I'm here for it, man. I am so here for it.
No, that trailer was incredible looking. I remember watching that at work. I was taking a quick peek, and I was just like, "Holy cow!" Honestly, I was just like, "Is this Final Fantasy 17?" Like, it looked just like it.
Did you see the thing where apparently Xbox listed the game on their store?
No.
For $25, and some people bought it. But
yes.
Yeah, but it was just a file that redirected them to the Xbox store.
Yeah, I did see that. I saw that on Twitter. That was like, it's already listed for sale. It was like 22 and change or something like that. Yeah, I did see that. I'm sure they'll get refunded for it or something.
Oh, I'm
sure there's going to be something for it. But
I thought that was funny though.
But no, there was a lot of good stuff on there. There was definitely some more things I would have liked to see, but it's it's early in the year, so we still got a little ways to go on that. Oh yeah.
I'm sure we'll have another PlayStation showcase, because they didn't show anything for Death Stranding 2, and they didn't show anything for Ghost of Yotai, which are both games, as far as we know, coming out this year. That could change.
Yeah, but I also know those bigger titles, they're going to save those for bigger shows, so we'll see them probably like during Summer Game Fest or something along those lines.
Yeah, because let's see, Summer Game Fest is typically in what, June?
June, July, around there.
June, July, because Ghost of Yotai seems like a good summer game to release, and Tsushima released during the summer.
I could see that being a fall or holiday release at this point, man. I know they want to keep it away from GTA. Like everything's trying to just stay away from GTA. I'm really surprised Borderlands 4 gave a release date. So I'm kind of curious how that's gonna.
I don't know if you've seen the newest leak, but GTA 6 is allegedly coming out October 28th.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I saw the thought process behind it. It's not an official thing, but yeah, I saw that too. So I mean, that wouldn't surprise me though. That's kind of that perfect time frame for it. So
yep,
that's going to be a very busy time. So
oh yeah, GTA 6 is going to ruin this industry, man. I'm calling it now.
I don't know about ruin it, but it's going to make a very, very busy few months. So
I don't know if I'll pick it up day one. So we'll see.
I'll probably pick it up day one. I don't know. Like I like those games, but like I said, 5 was kind of a rough one for me. Like it's good, it's enjoyable, but it got to a point where 1, it was too much, and then the story was boring to me. Like I played that 3 different times, and I would get to the exact same spot in the story, and I would just be like, I'm done.
Oh, so you never even finished it?
Never finished it.
I did finish the story, and I only did it once, and I've never returned to the game since. So
no, like I said, I want to, but it's not holding my attention. Like I had a lot more fun back in the day playing with my buddy, and we'd take turns like jumping the cars or doing just crazy stuff with it. You know, it's not. I know this is going to be a controversial comment, but it's not Saints Row in my opinion. You know,
yep.
Saints Row had a lot more fun with its side missions and goofiness and stuff like that, like with the insurance fraud and I don't know. Like I like
they
Saints
leaned
Row
heavily into it.
Yeah,
and it worked in their favor.
Agreed. So, but like I said, with my small talk, that kind of leads into our topic today. So the way I see this is like, I don't think the PS5 Pro is a flop. I don't think it's something that's failed yet. I don't think it's caught on to adopters like Sony would be hoping, but it's getting to that point where it's not doing as well as Sony expected. And that had me thinking, what are some of the biggest video game industry flops? And then I started thinking, what are some of the biggest flops that you and I both bought into? What were some of the biggest biggest games, hardware, whatever, it doesn't matter. But what was some of the biggest stuff that was like, man, I am hook, line, and sinker all over it, and it was just a complete train wreck. So
yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I think we both got 3 apiece. I think that's a good balance on what we're going to talk about. But unless you have anything else to cover, man.
Nah, let's get into it. Let's hear about some failures.
So this one's a personal one for me because I've got a little bit of a story to this. But I mean, I'm a huge fan of this franchise. Like we've talked about this multiple times. And the one that came out previously actually did very well. It sold like crazy. I was all about it. I think I played through it like 13, 14 times with a friend of mine. We 100%ed it. We did the speed runs. We did everything. We loved everything about it. And when this one got announced, we actually got early access to go play it. We got special invitations to go play this behind like closed doors and stuff like that. And it was like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat. So when we got there, it was actually at a Six Flags. And when we were like, all right, so it's going to be like a tent or something. There's going to be something going on. You know, it'll be a closed off event. Obviously, this is a special. It was set up in a gazebo, and it was literally one TV just on a picnic table there.
Yeah.
And it was the most underwhelming demo I've ever seen. It was just, I was so disappointed with how this played out. And that kind of just carried through, I guess, to everybody. Everybody also saw that. But my first big flop is going to be Resident Evil 6. I was so excited for this game after playing 5. I mean, again, I grew up with all the older ones, and it's just like, this one hurt my soul. What was your take on Resident Evil 6? Did you actually play it? Did you mess with it?
So I haven't played 6. I haven't even played 5. So
okay.
But here, hold on. I did. Yeah, there we go. I did end up getting a copy for Christmas from my wife because I've been kind of blowing through the Resident Evil franchise as of
Yeah.
late. I've kind of taken a break from it currently, so I do plan to get onto it this year, and I plan on playing majority of the Resident Evil games this year. So
There you go.
we'll have to revisit my thoughts on it at a later date. But my main question is whenever it comes to the Six Flags thing, uh, deal, did you still have to pay for admission to get into
Oh,
Six
yeah.
Flags?
Yep.
So you had to pay, and then you got to experience this underwhelming event.
Yep.
Okay.
Thankfully, it was a fun day at Six Flags. It was me, my buddy, and my wife, or my fiance at the time, but my now wife. We had a good day. Like, we enjoyed the day still, but it was one of those things of like, hey, there's a special Capcom event. It's going to be from 2 to 4 o'clock. You got to be here at this time, and we'll give you a behind the scenes peek at Resident Evil 6, and you'll get to play it hands-on, stuff like that. And it's like, okay, cool. It sounds kind of like a big deal, kind of like the Saints Row event we did. It was kind of like a big. That was a much bigger deal comparatively. But like it was kind of like, all right, this is private. You got to be here. You got to do this. Blah blah blah. And I mean, they could have just set up in a local park with a generator, and it would have been more effort because they had to bring a generator.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed with that. But not talking solely on that, this game was a huge letdown for me. And I don't know if, like, I can't think I'm the only one. But something with this game was just a huge letdown to me. It didn't play like Resident Evil. To me, this plays like Gears of War.
Really?
Yeah, it's got that third-person kind of over-the-shoulder shooter action, and there were scenes where I'm sitting there just like with a machine gun, just going to town, kind of like I did it. Like you even have like that. Did you see that in the trailer where he slides up to the wall? And it's just like it felt like Gears of War to me. It didn't feel like Resident Evil. Like even RE5 had better Resident Evil style controls than this did. So.
I don't know. I have a feeling that by the time I do get to it, I'm probably not going to enjoy the game, though. Just going off of, like I said, recent experience, I just, not too long ago, played through RE2 Remake twice. Once for Leon's campaign, and then the other one for Claire's campaign. And then I decided to kind of take a break before I went and did some of the side missions or the side campaigns, I should say.
Yeah.
And hopped into Nemesis, the remake, though. The remake for 3 is a little rough around the edges. So if I'm already being this nitpicky about something that's not even a bad game, because I have beat the 3 remake and played through it before.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I'm not going to have high expectations for 6 by the time I get there.
I really liked Resident Evil 3's remake. Like I enjoyed it. They cut like a pretty crucial scene out of that game. But I still really enjoyed that remake. Like it's not 2 was still better in my opinion, and 4 is phenomenal. Like they did a great job with 4.
I think my problem is I jumped right into 3 remake after playing 2 remake, and my stance. I couldn't see the appeal of 2 remake. Like I didn't hate it or anything, but I just had a hard time sitting down and playing it. But now that I have, it's hard to go on to something else because 2 is a pretty high bar now that I've played through 2 campaigns for this game. So.
Agreed. Like I said, 3 was good. I did enjoy it. The Nemesis kind of hide and seek you play with him it does get old after a while, but it's still worthwhile for sure. And then I would love to get your feedback on 4. That remake was very well done in my opinion.
So I started playing through 4 remake, but I just dropped off because Tears of the Kingdom came out. So I've been wanting to go back to it and play it because what I played I did really, really enjoy. It was a ton of fun. The last thing I did was I fought the potential spoilers, everybody. I fought the lake monster.
Okay. I mean, so that's pretty good ways into the game.
Is it? Okay.
I mean...
Well, I hadn't even met Ashley yet, so...
Okay, I'm thinking a different monster then.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm talking about the one where you're on the boat on the lake and you're having to, maneuver around and you have to harpoon it.
Yeah, I thought that was...
The big...
I don't know. It's been a bit. I thought that was further into the game. Maybe Maybe not. Maybe I thought maybe I was further in the game and realized, no, there's a whole lot more to do, so.
Okay.
I don't
So
know. But,
we'll have to revisit that.
yeah,
So
I would like to get your input on that, but man, this was, of my 3, I think this is probably the bottom of my video game industry flops. This is probably, like, of my list, this would probably be the bottom of the list, because the other 2 are, man, I was a lot more excited about them, and they didn't do near as well, so. But this is my first one. What's your first pick?
So my first pick is something that it only flopped because of the maker of this product. If I'm
Okay.
being completely honest. And it's because it didn't get supported, and that's going to be the PSVR 1. And I want to make it perfectly clear that I do not hate this piece of hardware whatsoever. Are there better VR headsets out there? Yes. And is the PSVR 2 a better experience than the first one? Absolutely. But that being said, there was still nothing wrong with the first iteration of it. It's just that Sony doesn't know how to support anything that's not a console.
No, 100%. That's 100% true. I mean, we knew we were already going to talk about this, but like the first time I showed you VR, you absolutely lost your mind.
Yeah.
We hung out one day, and I think I showed you Job Simulator, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And you would have thought I showed you like the Fountain of Youth or, you know, Unlimited Wealth, man. Your eyes like to the like saucers, man. You were just like, oh my god, and you played it for so friggin' long. You loved it, man. So this isn't us bashing on the hardware. This is stuff that we believed in that let us down.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. But what's your take on this then? Where are you?
After you telling that story, it's still crazy to think about. I think that was the first time you and I ever hung out outside of work.
Fair enough.
Whenever
It feels
we were
like
working
forever
together
ago.
anyway.
Jesus.
Yeah, I think that was the first time you and I ever hung out together outside of work. So
Good lord.
but
All right.
yeah, but the PSVR 1, it's a solid piece of hardware. Was it overpriced when it came out? Absolutely. Was the PSVR 2 also overpriced? Absolutely. But it's VR. You know what to expect. And I feel like whenever it comes to the PSVR specifically, you're paying for name more than anything because it's a PlayStation product. So
See, I don't think the price for the PSVR 1 was completely unreasonable. It's a good chunk of money, and especially compared to a system that costs $400. Like, yes, I agree it's a lot. But when you think of VR nowadays, man, I mean, you can get a MetaQuest 3 for $650.
well, I know. I think what I'm trying to say is it's that it wasn't worth the price point for how little they supported
Oh,
it.
no, 100%. Yeah.
And that's what I'm getting at. So, but don't get me wrong, there were games that I really enjoyed playing in the PSVR 1, like Job Simulator. I actually platinumed it. I loved it so much. And then I played VR Kart, which is just a very bare bones Mario Kart clone, and it was fun too. Psychonauts and the Rhombus of Ruin, which takes place in between Psychonauts 1 and Psychonauts 2. That one was a lot of fun too because you get to use all of your psi abilities, like telekinesis and stuff like that in VR. It was a
Okay.
very fun experience, but it's sad though because it's always going to be trapped on the PSVR 1, I feel like.
Well, I mean, and kind of in the same realm of that too, like my favorite VR experience of all time, and I think one of the best VR experiences out there was Resident Evil 7.
Yep.
That was phenomenal, man. I don't know if I'll ever be able to top that, in my opinion.
I would be willing to bet money though that they're going to do a PSVR 2 update for that game one day though.
I mean, maybe. I know. I remember reading an article. I think I talked to you about this already, but Capcom like did a survey over in Japan, and they were like, this was kind of when they were prepping for Resident Evil Village and stuff like that, and they were talking about, give us your feedback for Biohazard or Resident Evil 7, and the overall consensus is that game is too scary. It's too scary for us. We don't want anything to that level. So that's why the remakes and Village are toned down. Like we've talked about Village. about how like I like the game, but it's not a horror game to me. It's like more of a thriller. It's kind of, it's not a scary experience. It's just kind of gets you on the edge of your seat a little bit.
In my opinion, each Resident Evil game has its own unique identity anyway. Like, for
Yeah.
example, the 2 remake isn't necessarily scary, but it's very tense, and it
that's
keeps you on the edge of your seat, whereas 7 is just outright nightmare fuel at some points. I remember the first time I played through 7, there were some parts that legitimately scared the shit out of me, like, in some segments.
and that's what I liked about it though, was how
Oh, yeah.
crazy, how off the rails it went. So that was, for me, that's what makes that experience so much better, because that's one of the best horror experiences I think I've ever experienced.
I mean, you know my take. I prefer Village over 7,
Yeah.
and but you know me, I'm also a story person, and I think Village has a very solid story. So, but
I
not
think
to say that I hate 7. I definitely love 7. It's
No,
good.
I think Village has a more fleshed out story versus 7. Like I'm not discounting that, but I don't like when I play a game like that. I want that horror aspect, and when they were like, "Oh, Resident Evil 7's gonna have VR," it didn't cross my mind that I would be standing in this experience. It's one thing when you're playing Village and you're watching it on the TV, and it's like, "Oh, I'm walking down this hallway in my TV." But when you're in VR, you're turning your head left, you're turning your head right, and it's like I'm looking down those hallways.
Yep.
She's lunging at my face, not the screen, the face, and it's like that's terrifying, and I loved it.
Yep.
I was all for it, man.
See, I didn't finish 7 in VR, but I did play a good chunk of it in VR. I think I got up to Marguerite.
Okay.
Whenever I played it in VR. And because like I said, I'm currently going through playing Resident Evil. By the time I get to Village, because I want to play through Village again, I plan on playing it in VR because I have yet to attempt to do so.
I'd like to see that one in VR. The game's good, but I'd like to see that in VR personally.
I think it would be a solid game in VR, especially because it has a lot of larger than life scenarios in it. So,
So
but,
no,
yeah,
like
no,
I'm,
it-
I
it just-
I got a copy of 7 on PC, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna use my meta for this, and it's not even meta compatible on PC. So
oh, is it not?
nope.
Oh, dang.
So it's kind of like what you said. It's locked to PSVR.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's really sad. So, well, I feel like we've kind of, deviated from PSVR and went right back to Resident Evil. So,
But I mean, in all fairness, that kind of shows. I mean, we did, but that shows how passionate we were about this piece of hardware. In all fairness,
yeah, you're not wrong.
Like
so.
we were both really into this. Like I have multiple VR headsets, and like I liked the PSVR. Hell, I bought a PSVR 2 for a little bit and got rid of it shortly after. But it's just like you said, Sony doesn't seem to know how to support hardware that isn't a mainline console.
Yep.
So I'm kind of with you on that. But no, I agree. This is one I was really excited for.
Well, what's your next failure?
So for my second piece, I'm gonna kind of stick with the trend, and I'm gonna do something hardware themed, and I'm gonna kind of lead into this one a little bit. So back when we got, Steam was really starting to kind of pick up, well, Steam per se, but it was really kind of gaining momentum and stuff like that, and the PC gaming market was kind of becoming more mainstream. And the real challenge for them is how do we get console gamers to play on PC hardware if they don't want to spend $2,000 dollars on a PC. So they started digging into Steam machines. I don't know if you remember those. They had the Alienware Steam machines and stuff like that. I always wanted one of those. I never bought one because they were ridiculously expensive. But there was a piece of hardware I did buy, and I was really into this as well. But it just didn't do well. I think it needed more than what was actually there, and that was the Steam Link.
Yep.
I think I feel like this is something that came out just way too early on. I feel like nowadays it would do a little bit better. But it's just one of those things, like, it was just an easy way to play your PC games anywhere. But there were still extra hurdles and hoops you had to jump through to take advantage of it. I mean, you still had to have a phenomenal PC. You still have to have an incredible internet connection. And, I mean, you're still going to have to deal with small little, hiccups with it. It's like, is it going to be fast enough? Is it going to be, are the games going to run smooth enough? Do I have to worry about latency? And then more importantly, I don't know if you remember the Steam controller.
Yep.
That thing was terrible.
Yep.
I don't it looked like an Xbox controller kind of, but it didn't have joysticks. It had two touchpads on it. And they were actually push buttons. Like, they were giant push buttons, but they were touchpads. And they were the weirdest things. Like, I hated the controller. I loved the Steam Link, though. It didn't work well enough to make it worthwhile, in my opinion. Did you ever mess with the Steam Link, or did you have one or anything like that?
So I never messed with the Steam Link, but I did mess with the Steam controller, and yeah, that thing is garbage. But I will say this, though. Whenever it comes to the Steam Link, and you said it was ahead of its time and stuff, I feel like the Steam Deck is definitely going to rewrite that history, though.
Oh, for sure.
And there was even that article or video you sent to me the other day where it's rumored that Steam is looking to enter into the console race to replace Xbox. So, who knows? Steam could still get their wish and get these console players, onto a PC marketplace without having to sink, a couple of grand into building a PC. So.
Yeah, I think there's potential there. I don't know. They gotta. There's a lot more they gotta do. They gotta get away from the. They gotta make it more console player friendly, in my opinion. They gotta make it appeal more to console players. So, but what's up?
I'll say this to somebody who has been a console player majority of their life, and I've played PC games and stuff, and I'm familiar with how to control a game on PC and everything. I'm familiar with mouse and keyboard. As somebody who is predominantly a console gamer, though, there's nothing appealing about the Steam Link.
Yeah. And, I mean,
for me anyway.
No, I get it, and my thing is like that's that conversation of they got to make it friendly to console players, because you look at that thing as a console player and you're like, what do I do with this thing?
Yeah.
Where's the controller go? How am I'm supposed to connect this to the internet? Like, what do I do with this thing? So,
yep. So
it's one of those. It's a tough sell, in my opinion.
It's a tough sell for their target demographic, because their target demographic isn't familiar with what they need to do to operate it. So.
Agreed. And I still have mine. I actually had it hooked up maybe a couple months ago. I like the thing a lot. My issue is you really, if you're going to take advantage of it, it has to be wired in. It has to be hardwired into your network. And then, you got to have proper controllers for it. If you're going to do mouse and keyboard, you got to have a setup for it. And most people don't have a proper setup for mouse and keyboard on their couch or, in their living room for it. So it's like, I don't know, like at the time, it just didn't seem like it was the best option. But again, this is something I felt like it was kind of ahead of its time.
Yeah. Well, give it time. I'm sure Steam's going to rectify this at some point in time.
Like you said, man, I love the Steam Deck. I think the Steam Deck is a phenomenal piece of hardware. I'm sad I had to sell mine, but I want to get the OLED model.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I'm chomping at the bit to pick up another one of those. I loved that thing. I was super impressed with it. So.
Oh yeah, we definitely have sung its praises multiple times on this podcast.
So, but that's gonna be my part too, man. What's your next piece of industry flop per se? So
for me, my next choice, I'm gonna have to go with a game this time, since we started out with Resident Evil 6, kind of vary it up a little bit. This is a game franchise that I actually love to death, and I understand why a lot of people don't enjoy this franchise, but it still sells well. And that's Far Cry. And specifically, though, what flopped for me was Far Cry 6. And I mean, it did flop. It flopped tremendously. It was not good whatsoever. And I'll even say this, it's actually one of the Far Cry games that I have sunk the most time into. I gave it a fair shot. I did almost everything in the game. I think I'm 3 trophies away from a platinum on it. So I gave it a fair shot. and put the hours into it, but man, just compared to the pedigree that came before it, Far Cry 6 is dog. It is bad. And I feel like a lot of those issues though are also that they took it away from the normal developer and handed it over to a different studio.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
yeah, it's not the same studio that because I believe Ubisoft Montreal is the primary developer of the Far Cry games. They did 3, 4, and 5, and I believe Primal as well. So and New Dawn. I don't remember who did 6. It may have been Ubisoft Montpellier. I don't remember.
Okay. No, this was one, like, I like the Far Cry games, but it just felt like they were coming out with a new one. Like, they were so common. It was kind of like the Assassin's Creed games, like, it was just like one after another. So I started taking a break from these at that point.
That's just Ubisoft, though.
No,
And
I mean,
yeah, they've gotten away from it now, but they're also not in a good position right now either. So.
no. But no, that's so I
But
didn't play. I think I played a little bit. I think I started 6. Actually, I don't remember, to be honest. I know I played 5 and New Dawn and stuff like that, but this one, I don't know. I was really excited, man, because I mean they've got Giancarlo Esposito in there. Like this is like some big recognizable names and faces, man, and it's Far Cry. You know it's gonna be. You know what you're getting when you pick up this game. So.
yeah.
This was one
And
I was excited for, but I didn't actually grab this one. And then I
oh,
heard your feedback on it too, so
oh yeah, you know me. I buy the Ultimate Edition to every Far Cry game whenever it comes out, and this one was the first time I felt like I wasted money in buying one.
that's rough.
And I'll say this though, what's crazy to me is Far Cry 6. Like I said, not a good game, but the DLC though is really good though.
That's the one where they
Because
bring the villains back from the older games, isn't it?
yes, where you get so there's a DLC where you get to play as Voss from Far Cry 3, and then another one where you play as Pagan Min from Far Cry 4, and then you play as the father Joseph Seed from Far Cry 5, and they expand on their stories and give you more lore into the games as a whole. And not only that though, actually shows how the games kind of all connect to one another too,
Okay.
in small little ways. So the DLC, fantastic. I don't know why they couldn't cook with the main game. Maybe they just didn't have the money to pay, Giancarlo Esposito, because the Far Cry villains are the marketing point of these games, and he was hardly in the game. Like if you actually sit down and play this game, he has hardly any dialogue, any cutscenes. He has no presence whatsoever.
That's what I was about to ask. Is he just not in the game very often, or what's
No,
the?
he's not.
Hmm.
So I feel like they couldn't pay him, and
That
so they just
sucks.
paid. I feel like they just paid him what they could get out of him, and it really hindered the game. And as much as I like him as an actor, if hiring a different actor to portray Anton Castillo, the main antagonist of this
Yeah,
game,
yeah.
helped make this a better game, then I wish they had done that.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, this one had a lot of potential to it, and again, like you said, the villains are kind of the selling point here. They're kind of the what brings you to the game. You know, it's
Yeah,
you want to
and
see more of them.
there's not, man, I can't think of another franchise that's like that, where the marketing point is the antagonist.
Yeah, no,
And
that's fair.
they they drop the ball on their own game. Like
I mean,
on their
fair.
own gimmick, but
I mean, in all fairness, though, this is like technically the 6th entry in the franchise, but it's like they've done a lot more with Primal and New Dawn and stuff like that. But I'll as much as I'd love to see just Giancarlo Esposito kind of just take control of this, like they get a pass, they get one miss, man. Everyone gets one.
yeah, but my point is I spent way too much money on this game and it let me down. So,
I mean, fair.
but
This was
but
your flop, so
yeah, but I'll say this though. Obviously, Far Cry 7's in development. You know, they haven't officially said it or anything, but let's be honest. Far Cry 7's in development. I just hope it goes back to the original team, and I hope they take the time to get it right. And considering the fact that 6 came out in what 2021, I think.
good lord.
I think it was 2021 whenever it came out. So it's been 4 years now. So obviously they've been cooking something up.
Yeah, no, they've
And
got. I mean, Ubisoft needs all the help it can get right now. So.
oh yeah, well we'll see what happens with Assassin's Creed Shadows, man. Because right now I feel like that's their make or break. So
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one for sure. So.
yep. But what's next on your docket?
So this one hurts. Like this one's kind of the big one for me. I was very excited for uh this piece of hardware when it came out. This was an independent project, and it actually started with a Kickstarter if I remember correctly. And I think they set a small goal, like a few 100,000 or something like that. For I say a small goal, but they set a goal to just get it through the processes and just, like, get it started and stuff like that. And I think it actually broke all of the records for Kickstarter funding, and I'm pretty sure it was the number one highest Kickstarting object at one time. And I think it made like 8.5 million from Kickstarter, and that was the Ouya. I I was all about this, man. Like, I was 100% excited for this piece of hardware. The potential of just getting a piece of hardware and letting you decide what you wanted to do. You could control it in any way, shape, or form. You had full access to the operating system, the hardware. They even encourage people to tear the thing apart and put it in its own case and design custom cases for it. You could customize the controller. Like, this was complete modular freedom at a consumer level. And this just bombed as much as it could have. Like, this just fell apart the moment, it hit go, essentially. Did you ever get to mess with the Ouya?
I know I never did get to mess with it. Obviously, I know what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if there's anybody that doesn't know what it is. But my main question to you is did you actually fund this? Did you fund the Ouya?
I didn't fund it. I
Okay.
didn't fund it in the Kickstarter. So no, that was something that was that I don't think I've ever done a Kickstarter. So actually, I take that back. I did do one, but that's for another topic. But
Okay.
I did one, and I didn't do this one though. And this actually came to retail locations. Like, at one point, you could pick these things up at GameStop and stuff like that. And
Yep, I
I
remember.
I was just like, really? Like, you can get this at a store? And I was like, all right, I'll pre-order it. Yeah, and dove headfirst, and I was super excited for it, man. And I remember them, like, the company creating this was like, it's obviously Android operating system, so you can fully customize it. It's open source software, so if you have history coding, you can code whatever you want to this thing. With the Ouya, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if you ever read anything on it or anything like that, but the big issue with this when it came out was actually emulators and ROMs.
Really, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, so that was kind of their selling point when this system came out. Is it's a great emulation station, and I mean, it
Yeah.
is. It's basically a Raspberry Pi inside there, and you can install whatever you want. And it did very well solely for that. The emulation community kind of just took this and ran with it. the
Understandably so.
the problem is, you know, there's obviously that gray area with ROMs, and when you start getting into the newer pieces of hardware like the PS2 and stuff, the BIOS for that hardware, there's a
Hmm.
lot of gray and very illegal things with it too. So it's like there was a lot of issues from developers and stuff with this piece of hardware,
Hmm.
and honestly, like, emulation and ROMs blew up because of this. So it got to a point where, if I remember correctly, they started trying to tone it down a bit. They actually they took stuff off the store. They wanted to protect the freedom to do what you want, but they were getting pressure from the other side of the fence there too.
Yeah. Look, from the legal side.
Yeah, so it was
Well, my thing is when it comes to emulation and ROMs and everything, obviously, is it illegal? Yes. Okay. There's no question about it. But if these companies are not willing to make their games readily available, and this is the only solution, then I'm sorry, it's your choice that you're not choosing to make money off of what you have at that point. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. I think we talked about it in our Switch 2 prediction. Is like, I wish we would get just like a streaming service. You know, give me that straight
Hmm.
streaming service of all these classic games. If you want to charge a monthly fee for it, kind of like you do with Nintendo Online, that's fine. But
Yeah,
stop
just give
drip
it to
feeding.
us.
Yeah, stop drip feeding them. You know, one, two
Hmm.
every month. You know, let's get a proper library of these games. But I think this system only, I think it only lasted like a year or two. They actually just they discontinued it after a couple of years.
Hmm.
They just actually shut the online servers off like a couple of years ago.
Oh, really? So it stayed
And
up for a while then.
the servers were up for a while, and then they just shut them down probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, if I remember correctly. But people have already found or already made their own online servers for the Ouya. So you can
I'm not
actually,
surprised.
yeah, you can still connect it and connect it to the Ouya connection, like the online service, and still get access to all the games and or access to all the software and stuff like that. So,
Man, you
uh,
know the only people still using this is the modding community, though.
100%. But that was the
So,
issue I had with this piece of hardware though, was with the potential, it was definitely there, but the hardware wasn't. Like
mhm.
these, like compar- comparably, like these were not able to run like PS2 games.
Yeah.
Like the hardware, it just wasn't there. It didn't have the specs it needed to really become a proper emulation station, in my opinion. If you wanted to play like NES and Super Nintendo and stuff like that, this was it. But
Mm.
it just, once you started getting to like GameCube and PS2, like that's where you saw this really struggle.
And
So,
what year did this come out again?
this came out in, let's see. This video is from August 29th, 2012.
Okay, and see, so 2012. I mean, you don't really have that much of an excuse to not be able to run PS2, games at that point. Like the PS4 wasn't out yet, but you don't really have that much of an excuse though for PS2 and GameCube,
No, but
you
this
know?
was this was a like a this was a timeline where we started seeing those PC level kind of mobile consoles per se. You know, we got this,
Hmm.
we got the Steam machines, we got the Nvidia Shield, and we had those kinds of pieces of hardware, and the hardware wasn't spectacular. It wasn't to the point where it was it was comparable to what we see nowadays in PS4, PS5, or Xbox. Like it was definitely a toned down version, but it was basically the equivalent of like a cell phone in a case. That's
Yeah,
kind of what
see,
it really was. So
and that's the thing though is that's not what anybody wants,
no, I
you know?
again like it is what it is though. Like I mean, you can
Yeah.
again you could play if you want to do just basic emulation for older games. Like it's solid. It actually had its own game store too. Like as the trailer shows, like it has its
Hmm.
own games, and they had Ouya exclusive games too, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. It just didn't do. This was a huge flop for me, man. This was my big one. I was really disappointed with this one. They really dropped the ball, and I mean, we you live and learn. So we moved on. So
Yep, fair
which
enough.
I will say, I still have the Ouya. I still have this thing. So I actually
Yeah.
found it the other day. So.
All right, get to modding.
All right, well that's gonna be my last one, man. I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. But what's I know you got one more flop. What was the one thing you were excited for that just kind of fell flat on its face, man?
Okay, so this one, words cannot describe how excited I was for this console. And basically, whenever it got announced and everything, was the first time I had found out that E3 was an actual thing. I didn't know E3 was a thing for the longest time.
Nice.
And so, my first E3 I ever watched, they unveiled this console and all the games coming out for it. So, it was my first time actually like being in it. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? Being
Yeah.
in the announcements and stuff. Obviously, if I had known about it previously, I'm sure I would have been in it much sooner, but I just didn't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's not like they, really advertise it like they do now back then. But that would have been, though, the Wii U. And I still remember to this day, Nintendo on their webpage had a countdown clock, and I would just watch it sometimes, just waiting for this console to come out. And I picked it up day one, and I just want to say this: I loved it, and I still love it. I think it was people hate on it too much. Everybody expected it to be what the Switch currently is, but that wasn't the case. It was basically just a Wii with a touchpad controller.
Yep.
And that's all it was. But that's all it needed to be. And I enjoyed it so much and all of its stupid little gimmicks. And not only that, though, it had some fantastic games. Games that have been ported over, to the Switch at this point. We're still waiting on some, like they're showing Wind Waker HD right there. We also need Twilight Princess HD over on the Switch as well. But I love the Wii U. I still love it to this day. I'm not even going to lie. I enjoy the Wii U more than I enjoy the Switch.
Okay.
Just as a console, Switch has better games, because the Switch succeeded and Nintendo continued to support it and everything. But as a console, I enjoy sitting down and playing the Wii U more than I do the Switch. And I know that's controversial, and I know that people probably won't be happy with me saying that, but I don't care. Wii U was slept on. Just saying.
No, like I'm with you, man. Like I liked the Wii U a lot. It always felt like it wasn't perfected in my opinion. That was my issue with the Wii U. Like I didn't care for the interface. I didn't care for the community, like the layout, stuff like that. Like I don't know, there was a lot of things that just I wasn't a huge fan of. I wasn't I don't know, I was kind of over the whole Me system. Like I don't know, there was a lot of things I didn't care for this system, but there was definitely a huge amount of potential, and some of my favorite games are on this system. Like I said, I'm a big Wind Waker fan, but
Yep.
I put so much time into Mario Maker, and I feel like the reason that game was as good as it was because of the Wii U. The tablet system really made that work. I feel like the tablet was kind of hit or miss. Like it was Nintendo, they either really nailed it or they really dropped the ball. Like Star Fox. Star Fox was one of those that I was very disappointed with on the Wii U because I didn't care for the motion controls and the aiming setup. And look at these kids' faces.
Yeah.
Like I saw that in the trailer, I was just like, "Oh, they're not feeling it on this one." So, but I don't know, man. Like I'm with you. I like the Wii U. I just don't feel like the software was really there. I don't feel like it got the best of games. So,
Dude, Donkey Kong Country, Tropical Freeze,
I'm not
Smash
saying
4.
all of them are bad. I'm just saying like there was a lot fewer really good hits than there were misses.
Yeah.
So, like it just
I don't
seemed like good games felt far and few between on this console, in my opinion.
I have to disagree.
Really?
I have to disagree. Yes. Yes. I can't. I'm telling you, I love the Wii U, man. I love it so much.
I'm not
only
saying it's
that,
a bad system. I like the Wii U. Like I said, man, I just don't feel like there was a ton of great games on there. I felt like they were still kind of in that Wii mindset where it was like, let's just put everything and anything and everything we can on this system. So,
and I was okay with that.
I mean, fair. I don't know. Like I said, I liked it though.
But also, the Wii U had the best version of the Virtual Console, hands down.
Fair. I mean, out of everything they've done, yes, like
Yeah. And then not only that though, but having DS games on the Virtual Console as well because you had the tablet. Oh, dude, that was so cool.
No, I agree. And I mean, I remember playing what was it, Zombie U?
Yep.
Like I really enjoyed that game. I thought that was very clever and just different on how they do it or did it there. So I mean, and again, like Wind Waker, I can't stress enough. It's such a good game.
Yeah, and I just want you to know I messed around on Miiverse a lot. I loved Miiverse. It was so stupid, don't get me wrong, but it was so much fun though, and there was a lot of creative people, making posts and stuff because obviously it's on a tablet, so they're drawing stuff and they're posting their drawings on the Miiverse and stuff, and it was just so cool seeing some of the creativity that came out of it. So,
man, I just thought of another flop that I could talk of, but it wasn't one that I really kind of loved, but I think there was huge potential for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to dig into it too much, but you saying Miiverse instantly reminded me of the PlayStation Home.
I had a feeling that's where you were going,
Yep.
so
Like the moment
yeah.
you said that, I was like, man, that was one of those services that, again, I felt like had just huge potential. But in that regard, Sony just didn't care for it. They just didn't give it the true time of day, in my opinion. But that's a side tangent for sure.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, that's all I gotta say about the Wii U. Unless you want to add anything else to the Wii U.
No, like I said, I like this system a lot. I don't know. I felt like the games were very far and few between on it, in my opinion. Like it had good stuff on there. I'm not discounting that, but it's just I don't know. It was one of those things of it was either first party or it was gonna be on another console.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, those are gonna be our three, I guess, or six total industry flops. So I mean, we got to air out our grievances there and any issues we had with you know our past mistakes, I guess is probably the best way to put it. You know,
Yep.
we got to air those out, man. Do you have any last minute things you want to air
Yeah.
out or any honorable mentions you want to throw out there?
Yeah. No, I'll just I'll kind of say my piece for this closing section and everything. Is yeah, your past mistakes and everything, but remember, you got to look towards the future and you got to look to making yourself better. All right. So better yourself.
Yeah.
And then something else too, just as a little side thing and everything. So by the time this episode gets posted, Neon John's, the channel, my personal channel, will finally have its first video uploaded. It'll be uploaded.
Neon
What's
L Johns.
Yes, Neon L Johns, at Neon L Johns, but my channel's just called Neon Johns. So we'll have its first video uploaded. It's edited and ready to go. It'll be up. It should be up this past Wednesday by the time this episode goes up. And so going forward, I hope to have new episodes every Wednesday. So for me, you can look forward to seeing me every Wednesday and Friday. So.
Nice. Good deal. I don't really have a set schedule. Right now, I'm kind of in just this mode of I want to build a library of videos. So I'm kind of just, when I finish it, I'm uploading it. But I do want to build a schedule. I think that's the proper way to do it. I just want to get a little bit of a library of content going. Unless I start doing more solo stuff, and then I'll probably kind of set a schedule for that. So.
See, that's why I'm going to, because I plan on, trying to get some more solo stuff in as well. So, as well as what you and I play together. So.
Yep. But nope. Congrats, man. It's exciting to finally get your video up and running. I know you were working on that for a little bit, so hopefully the editing process wasn't too much for you.
Now, once you told me some things about it, I picked up on it pretty quick. So
it's not bad.
No. And then I'll say this too, though. None of y'all make fun of me for my thumbnails because I don't have the proper programs to make a thumbnail. I want you to know it is insanely difficult trying to make one in Paint 3D. It is so frustrating that I was like, forget it. I'm just choosing a frame of the video and it's my thumbnail.
There you go.
At some point I'll have a thumbnail.
I'll walk you through that. I got something you can use for that, so that'll make it a lot easier.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so every Wednesday, do you have a time frame, or is it just going to be sometime Wednesday?
Good question. It's probably, well, right now we'll just say Wednesday at noon.
Okay, so Neon L. Johns, he's going to start uploading his solo content and just his personal perspective on videos, I guess I should say. But he's going to start uploading content every Wednesday. And as always, guys, the Freakin Uncultured Podcast, we upload on YouTube every Friday at noon. So don't forget to check that out. More importantly, subscribe, hit that bell, the like button, all that fun stuff that you hear a million times while you're on this platform. So, but as always, my name is Andy. Down below, my tag is Your Madrigal. Below Chandler, his name is Neon L. Johns. That's where you can find both of our individual channels. And you're always welcome to follow and check us out. And more importantly, guys, don't forget to keep it uncultured.